Hi everyone, my name's Simon. Welcome to our new rendering teardown. Today we'll be dealing with this pretty cool frontal view of the nice house. And as you'll see, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind when you're doing frontal views in nighttime. So, first thing I'm going to talk about quickly is when you're doing frontal view, basically 99% of the time you need to be careful with the horizontals and the verticals, because otherwise it's always going to look a little bit weird, especially on the side. So when you do have these sort of things here, you do want to check the verticals and make them vertical, basically. So that's the first thing here. Also, I'm a little bit unsure about the framing. I'm not even sure it just needs more space, or it's just there's something a little bit problematic with the fact that we do have a little bit of void, sorry, here and a lot here, which is, I'm not really sure it's the right idea to put it right in the middle, but it's not bad. It does work, but it's just I do think there's something better to do. But anyway, for the present time, it's more than enough. One thing that also is a little bit problematic here is that I think it comes more from the sort of animation we have here. Two problems with these cars. First one is that they're completely out of scale, because, well, basically a dude would be this size or something like that, and this looks super tiny, like it doesn't even reach the lower part of the window, which is kind of weird. Same with this guy, it looks super small. So I don't know, I think it comes from the fact that the lens used is way too small. So we've got like high distortion, but the thing is, like, since we're looking at it frontally, it's okay, but you can see it with how small objects or normal objects get much smaller and distorted, so be careful with that. So, and just in terms of animation, I would like, because it's sort of symmetrical, it looks a bit weird, I would just get rid of one and maybe make it a little bit like the right scale and put it properly into inside the frame. So something like that. In terms of texture, we do have a couple of problems. As you can see, there are some errors here, and there are a couple of areas that do seem a little bit flat, so that's something you might want to double check, or at least add something, but it's okay, it's not much of a problem. Would have been nice to get like a nice displacement map on the roof tiles here. And okay, I didn't even see that. This is super small. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like this material here on the whole wall here is not really, like, you don't really understand what it is. If it's wood or if it's something different. I don't know. A bit unsure about that. Anyway, I think the other thing that could be cool is to change a little bit the way, how can I say this? I think the problem here is that even though we do want to bring the attention on our building, the fact that we put it right in the middle of the image means we can animate the whole image. What I mean by that is that it's a little bit weird to get like such a completely dead facade here. So it would be interesting to actually get, the same way we have here, a nice inside lighting, a couple of small details like a kitchen or something happening inside, and even like some sort of silhouettes. And the thing is, by having like animation throughout the whole image, but by having something completely architecturally different, you still bring the attention here, but without like completely missing the point on what's happening there. So I would definitely add something there. And the other thing I think that could be interesting as well is that you're still not at nighttime here. So instead of having your moonlight or whatever that is coming from that side and completely blacking and blocking the light here, I would actually make it come from that side, sorry, so that we can still get some sort of slight shadows on this wall and on maybe slight shadows on the ground and something like that, and maybe this tree here. Basically, the idea is to not completely be against the sun or the moon, or well, basically against the moon, the light, sorry, so that you, by having natural lighting, the idea is that you can turn off some of your light here, because these ones don't really add up to anything, and have natural lighting on this part and just enhance and emphasize the artificial lighting here and here. So what it would sort of look like would be, if I try to do it quickly, basically we would turn these, well, I can just basically do that. Let's do it that way. I would just turn off these guys like that, because they're not really interesting. And on the opposite, I would use a, where is it? Burn and dodge tool. Yes, burn and dodge tool here. So the burn tool can help us adding some sort of variation in the facade and in the dark area, especially here. As you can see, it's super bright, whereas it's not really supposed to be that bright, because there are no actual lighting coming except from here, but it's just like not properly backlit. And same goes with, whoops, same goes with that guy, maybe, well, whatever. And using the dodge tool to enhance this part, which is what is interesting, is like some sort of living room or whatever, and maybe that light, these guys, not really interesting, but whatever. And you could also add a level adjustment layer, because just to make it a little bit darker and have and enhance the contrast, basically, so that you know that most of your light comes from artificial lighting, but just in the areas where, like, we could actually add like some guy at the window, like a woman or whatever, and get like natural lighting to get some sort of nice feathering of the lights on the outline of the building. That's the idea, I think. And we could still get like some sort of more contrasty here, like a little bit dark, but not that dark. So I guess that's the main idea here, is just to make it like take all advantage you can from the actual setup of the lighting you have. I quite like the little tiny stars here. They actually add like tiny details, but that are quite interesting. So I would definitely try to keep this sort of ideas. And even though we cannot really see it anymore because it's much darker than the previous version, but always when you're using, like when you're placing trees, try to blend them a little bit in the ground. So just use a stem tool and make blades of grass in the lower part so that they blend in a little bit better. But basically, I think that's the main idea. Last thing we can check is this thing, which is a little bit weird, I have to admit. Let's double check it first. Yeah, so in terms of saturation, as you may know, saturation is supposed to be homogeneous in an image, except for the sky, which is always going to be the most saturated part, even at night, actually. But the way you can get saturation is when you get artificial lighting. But the thing is, the artificial lighting here is not really bouncing on this facade, but it's inside, which means these two walls shouldn't be this saturated. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a hue saturation adjustment layer, lower the saturation, and just mask it on. Well, we'll do it the other way around. Keep the saturation in the artificial light and just lower the saturation on the walls. You can keep it just next to this lamp shade because it does make sense. Like here as well, we do have a saturated part, but as you can see, it's a little bit different, but still it makes more sense in terms of physics. And last thing we can have a look at is the colors, but I think the overall thing is good. Like the colors are quite interesting. We do have like variations and a couple of colors. The idea basically is to never, like, always have at least 2 or even 3 colors, or at least variations, because otherwise it's hard to have interesting balance. But just keep in mind that having, like, even with one single color, having it in the shadow or in the lighting makes 2 different colors, so it counts as 2. I think I'll finish there. It was quite straightforward, but I think we managed to point out what was interesting in the image and what was not working. It could be improved. So hopefully you've learned interesting stuff, and yeah, I'll see you around. Bye, guys.
Snyder. Hey, Dylan. I kind of knew.